we come to the economic value of the blockchain data. For sure, because it's public and transparent, we have a lot of trust and security when it comes to if the data is valid. Because anyone can track these transactions, it's also way harder to make manipulations. At least transparency makes it almost impossible to manipulate a transaction without this being noticed. Every change to the data would be seen by all participants in the network, which not only creates trust, but also increases the security of the network. Every intermediate in the blockchain world would see when something malicious is done on the chain, or blockchain data is public, but only because it's public doesn't mean that you can use these data for free. And because we are still in the economic value of blockchain data, I want to introduce you with the cost factors which are necessary to run blockchain. There are the transaction fees, which are necessary for providing data onto the blockchain or for interacting with the blockchain, for changing the state of the blockchain. And these transaction fees are on the other side used to pay for the infrastructure costs. The network needs some nodes which are running the network and securing the transaction which are done on the network. And of course, for bringing up this infrastructure, the people also want to get some revenue. Here, the gas fee or the transaction fees are going to. For this, it's necessary to get some cost structure into the openly data. And when it comes to Moonchain, or if you stay on Ether, there we have two opportunities how we can use the data on the blockchain. One way would be to set up your own node, which would need some hardware for running the node, and depending on the network, this isn't that cheap to bring up. Or the other way, or would to pay for the information you call from the blockchain. By this I mean access fees when it comes to APIs. When you think about Etherscan, you can use Etherscan when it comes to using it as a normal private user, I would say. But as soon as you want to set up a bot which automatically tracks specific transaction or specific events which happen on the blockchain, then you really fast need to pay for your API access. Because Etherscan, I'm not sure how many API calls they allow per second or per minute or as a whole in free subscription model. But when it comes to running a bot with a free setup and running and trying it in a PvP state, like it's sometimes on the blockchain when it comes to trading meme coins or stuff like this or NFTs, I think that most people know how often PvP is a term on blockchain. Indeed, if you would try to win against bots which are running on an own node or using or paying for the API call, and you don't do it, for sure you get the information you want to have a lot later. Blockchain data, public but not free. I told, we have to pay for the resource consumption when it comes to bringing data onto the blockchain. We have to pay for every transaction and every storage of data. We require significant computing power and energy. When it comes to Bitcoin, we have a higher necessity than when we compare it with Ethereum because of the proof algorithm. On Ether, we use proof of stake, and not every node has to compute every block. Anyways, just for being able to store the whole blockchain and for being able to process the transaction in the way it's needed to being able to compete against other node operators, you have to pay for expensive hardware. Another point why the transaction fees are a good point, or can be a good point, is for sure the protection against abuse. When you think about you have to pay for interacting with the blockchain or the infrastructure which is behind the blockchain, there is a much lesser chance for the danger that this transaction would be done by bots, because when you have to pay for it, you think twice if you want to use a bot for it or not. The fees are necessary to provide the sustainability of the network, help to finance the infrastructure, and enable the operation of a secure and stable network. The blockchain is a living system that is constantly evolving to become safer, faster, and more efficient, which requires ongoing investment. Like I said, if you want to interact with the data on the blockchain, you would have to run a node for being able to fully use the data in the full content, like it's stored on the blockchain, or the other way would be to pay for the API call.